Well, it is finally time. Game Day 2023 is finally here. Give it up. I am your host, Scott Fusell, and with me for the first time ever, two-time Game Day champion, the Roy Kent of Cross Point, my main man, Vince Constantine. Welcome, Vince.
Hey, thank you, Scott. Boy, you know, it's super exciting. We've got a great matchup today. Well, that's until Walters chokes, and inevitably that's going to happen. But whatever the case, I think it's going to be a great matchup, and super excited to see what happens today.
Oh, man. Well, whether you've been here every single year since we started this thing, welcome back. Or if this is your first time here, you're going to leave here asking yourself or saying to yourself a couple things. If it's your first time here, you might be saying, I found my people. Or you also could be asking yourself, what just happened?
Couldn't have said it better myself, Scott. We certainly do things differently around here, and Game Day is one of those ways that we do that.
Yeah, it's hard to believe that we've been doing this for 13 years.
Yeah, wow, 13 years. Can you believe it? Yeah, let's give it up, man. 13 years of Game Day. Hey, are you people fired up? You fired up for today?
Let's go.
Yeah. This is what the 10:30 crowd brings right here.
That's what I'm talking about.
This is exactly what we're talking about. So, to get this thing started and started the right way, let's head down to the field for the Sunday night tradition. Let's go!
Point band, everybody, bringing the power every hour. Give it up, everybody. Man, absolutely loving that. Before we move on, Vince, we need you to tell the people from Fishers to France and all around the globe, how does Game Day work?
All right, here are the completely nonsensical yet very flexible rules for Game Day. First of all, each team will have 2 7-minute quarters to teach.
So what you're saying is we have to listen to Kurt twice today.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, I know. Secondly, each quarter each teacher must use one Bible reference.
Okay, well, knowing that Kurt was ordained at pastorsonly.com, I see that as a challenge.
Yeah, this might be an obstacle to overcome.
It's going to be one.
Yeah. And number 3, each quarter, teachers will be given one random movie phrase they must effectively work into their message.
Oh, man, love all that. So tell them about the most important part.
You mean helping people find their way to God?
Absolutely not. I'm talking about winning, Vince. Tell the people how we keep score.
Oh, yeah, got it. Okay, so here's how you score. I'm sorry, there are kids in the room. I'm sorry. Here's how you keep score. First of all, you have to have a compelling message. That's worth 7 points. If you use the random movie phrase, that is worth 2 points, which could be difficult for one of our contestants. And lastly, any penalty results in -3 points.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Vince. And thanks to the good people at Gatorade for sponsoring today's rules of the game. Gatorade, the official drink of athletes everywhere and grown men over 50 who spend way too much time at Ale Emporium on a Friday night. I think it's time to meet our teams, Vince. What do you say?
Yeah, I thought you'd never ask. Let's
get
find out who's beating Kurt Walters today.
Go.
And now, your 2023 starting lineups. The away team, in her first Crosspoint Game Day appearance, the savant of student ministry. She's smooth with her words and a master of the platform, Abby Craig.
Yeah.
The home team, introducing a coffee-pounding pastor and 13-year Game Day veteran, a slayer of the platform and creator of words that just don't exist, Kurt Walters!
Yeah.
Let's go, Eagles!
All right, friends, the stage is set. The teams are ready to go. The only thing missing is an official. So, ladies and gentlemen, making his game day debut, please welcome to the stage the man in charge of keeping his dad in check today. Give it up for our referee, Matt Walters.
Oh, man. Hey, you know what, Scott? This should be really good, man. Matt's got the whistle and the power.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, we probably should have been keeping this in the family all along.
Oh,
you know,
100%.
And here's another reality. I don't know about you, but the officiating the past few years has been terrible. It's been awful. The guy that's up there, first of all, he's old, he's slow, same jokes over and over and over, and it just gets to be monotonous. And he's old, and he's kind of losing touch of the game. So this is a huge upgrade. I'm super excited.
I'm right here.
Oh, sorry. Totally got awkward. Hey, let's head down to the field for the coin toss. Matt, take it away.
Wow.
All right, let's bring it in. Abby, congratulations on your inevitable victory. Kurt comes back year after year, still has not managed to reach the end of the script. Trust me, I've been here for all of them. So, Kurt, as a senior citizen, pastor or dad, whatever big name they call you around here, please call it in the air.
Do you have a coin, or have you lost that like your homework?
I forgot to tell you. Today's coin toss is sponsored by Bitcoin. So we're just going to make it up anyway.
Yeah.
All right, Walters, call it in the air.
Heads are gonna be rolling. I'm calling heads. That's what I'm calling.
Let's just call it tails. Abby, do you want to go first or defer?
I will defer.
Yes. All right.
All right, Kurt. Looks like you're up first again. Let's send it upstairs. People in the booth, crank up the random movie phrase generator
Let's go.
and give us Kurt's random phrase.
Let's go.
Let's go. Kurt, your random phrase is, Mama always said life was like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. Take it away, boss.
All right. Well, hey, are we having fun yet today? Man, oh, awesome, man, so exciting. Hey, let me tell you what we're doing here. In our country today, there are very few things we come together on. Politics doesn't do it. Religion doesn't even do it. The one thing we come together on is a national holiday of the Super Bowl. Who's excited about today? Man, I tell you what. Hey, we're glad you're here. Let me pray for us before we do anything else. God, thank you for the ability to laugh, have fun. You created us for that. I just pray the endorphins would flow and that we would experience the joy, the happiness that you created us for. And perhaps we might even learn something about you and about ourselves along the way. And so we just pray these things in your character, Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
Well, hey, when people come to church, when you walk into this space, especially if you come in for the first time, which let's make some noise for those here for the first time today. Man, if you're here for the first time, so excited. Man, we are excited. We're a place built for people like you. Maybe you came to tailgate in the parking lot and you just wandered in. I think most of us, whether you're here for the first time or every week, we come in here and we want to know, is this going to make my life better? Am I going to be happy or have more joy as a result of what I experience? I think all of us are on a happiness quest. And before we dig in any further on this idea of joy and happiness, let's just pause for a moment, because I think something we can all get really, really encouraged by and brings a lot of joy to our life is seeing this story continue from earlier in the year. If you remember Damar Hamlin, who almost died on a field about a month and a half ago. If you didn't see this, this was his speech just earlier this week. Take a look.
First, I would like to just thank God for even being here. Every day, I am amazed that my experiences could encourage so many others across the country and even across the world. Encourage to pray, encourage to spread love, and encourage to keep fighting no matter the circumstances. Sudden cardiac arrest was nothing I would have ever chosen to be a part of my story. But that's because sometimes our own visions are too small, even when we think we are seeing the bigger picture. My vision was about playing in the NFL and being the best player that I could be. But God's plan was to have a purpose greater than any game in this world. My entire life, I felt like God was using me to give others hope. And now with a new set of circumstances, I can only say he's doing what he's always done. I have a long journey ahead, a journey full of unknowns and a journey full of milestones. But it's a lot easier to face your fears when you know your purpose. And thank you everyone around the country and around the world who prayed for me and hoped for me. The journey will continue.
Man, come on, let's give it up for Damar. Man, what God's doing through him, amazing. And we're going to tie in a bit to what he's talking about. I mean, the joy that comes even in the midst of things that you do not expect. You know, here's one of the things that I know about every single one of us. We are in a nation that was founded on a social experiment. And if you don't believe me, take a look at this phrase from our Declaration of Independence. It says that we have these certain unalienable rights. Among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Now, just look at these words here for a moment. It says life, guaranteed. You know, liberty, guaranteed. Pursuit of happiness, it's like you're on your own, bro. Man, good luck with that. And, you know, it's like you're welcome to pursue it, but that's like chasing down a unicorn or trying to find a likable Philadelphia Eagles fan. You know what I'm talking about? I mean, they're just not likable. And so when we think about things we're running after, I don't know if you've noticed this or not, we are horrible at attaining the things we are chasing. And why is this? Well, I think it's because, like my mama always said, life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get.
Oh, boom, there it is. There's the random phrase, Vince. Your thoughts?
You want to wake me up when he actually uses scripture?
Absolutely.
You know, sociologists today, they say that the generation we're all in, 21st century generation, all of us, that we are one of the angriest, loneliest, most depressed generations that's ever lived. And I could rapid fire all kinds of stats to kind of illustrate this. And I think one of the reasons, and if you live in organizational leadership, you know, in your life or you're part of organizational leadership, you've probably heard this phrase before. It's because the system we're in, the way that we do life, is perfectly designed for the results that we're experiencing. It's perfectly designed. We're getting results just, you know, based on the way we do life. And here's the reality. If you want to get what no one else is getting, if you want to experience something different than this angry, depressed, you know, kind of lonely state, then you've got to do what no one else is doing. Now, there's a number of different types of people in our world that we can follow into places that will not bring joy and happiness. In fact, there's kind of three categories, if you will. The first one is this right here, the back in my dayers. I don't know if you remember this guy, Uncle Rico. Everybody remember Uncle Rico, Napoleon Dynamite? Yeah, I mean, he was always living in the past, right? It was always the best days. The joy was behind him. And then you have the this will doers, represented by this guy from Parks and Rec. And this is kind of the, you know, this is just the way my life goes. It's a status quo. Life in the present, it's not great. I have a hard time seeing the goodness around me. And then we have the doom and gloomers, you know, which is represented by sadness here. And my word, do we not have, you know, way too many doom and gloomers in our world today? They're always forecasting doom and gloom, and it's horrible out there. And, you know, it's not like it's bad to embrace sadness. Embracing sadness is a good thing. That's a very real emotion, and we have to be aware of that. It's just that, you know, there are people in our lives that all they do is talk about the gloom and doom. And this, I believe, begins to become a barrier for our joy, for our happiness. And the one thing that all of these three types of people have in common is that for them, joy is based on external things, external circumstances. And so what I hope we can see today is that Jesus, he gives us a different view of joy, a different view of happiness, and he actually created you for it. In fact, Dr. Tony Evans, he says this. He says, joy is the internal stability in the midst of external circumstances. Think about that for a moment. It's the internal stability, something going on in here regardless of what's going on out there. And just like there's a lot of great individuals that will lead you into places that will not lead to places of joy and happiness, I hope that today you can see that one of the best people to model your life after and to follow is the person of Jesus. And in fact, Jesus is always the right answer in church, let's be honest, right? But you might not realize that here's what was actually said about Jesus. Take a look at this. This was the book of Hebrews in the New Testament part of the Bible. The writer says, God has anointed you, talking about Jesus, he's anointed you, pouring out the oil of joy on you. Get this, more than anybody else. You know what that means? That means that Jesus, I don't know if you've ever thought of this before, Jesus has more joy than anyone else. I mean, I think it's one of the reasons people flock to him wherever he went. It's not because he was angry or condemning people. Nobody wants to be around those people. I think it's because he had a joy and a happiness and a purpose that like emitted out of his life. Even kids. I mean, we see these stories of children like being attracted to Jesus, drawing close to him, laughing with him. Why is that? It's because there's a happiness. Kids are drawn to people who are joy-filled and purpose-filled. It's like he had candy in his cloak and he's just throwing it out because see, Jesus was the happiest person that ever lived.
Touchdown to the boss. Team Walter is given 7 points for his solid argument. He's also awarded 2 points for the use of the random phrase. So at the end of the first, it's Team Walter's 9, Team Craig 0.
Come on.
Oh, man, this is stunning. This is stunning. Walters is shockingly out of the gates very, very strong.
Yeah, I'm not really sure that matters. First of all, this is game day. Second of all, he's a professional loser, right? I mean, he's what, 1 in 12?
He's good at it.
Soon to be 1 in 12. He's good at it, right? So that's, I shouldn't use professional. He's just so darn good at this.
He is efficient and proficient at losing, for sure.
Sir.
So, hey, that's harsh, but totally fair criticism, a very, very fair assessment. Before we move on, we need to give a quick shout out to our friends at DraftKings for sponsoring today's first quarter. DraftKings. America, your kids really don't need to go to college. We'll be right back.
Billy, use the cleaner.
Touchdown.
Yeah, it only works with Doritos.
Why only Doritos?
You ask too many questions, Billy.
All right, Abby. Welcome to your first game day, and congrats on your inevitable victory. People in the booth, hit that RPG. Let's go. All right, Abby, your random phrase is, wait, I've seen this one before. When Harry Met Sally. Billy Crystal was like 20 years old in this one. All right, your random phrase is, I'll have what she's having. Take it away, champ.
All right, we'll see what we can do with that one. So, as Kurt talked about, if Jesus wants us to have joy, to experience happiness in our lives, then the question that we've got to ask next is, how do we get there? What are the things that we have to chase after? What are we looking for? And I think that there are some things that we will have to learn to see. Maybe things that you and I are overlooking every single day. In fact, there is a filter. Now, if you're a young person in the room, we know that you're too cool for filters. So let me explain to you how these work on social media. Most of us use them. Here's a picture of my family. And depending on what filter you put on top of this, it will impact how you see and what you notice in this picture. So, for example, sometimes you put a filter on and the color starts to fade. Sometimes you put a filter on and things get more sharply defined, or things start to wash out. Did you guys know that there's actually this new filter where you can put it on top of your picture and it will show you what people were thinking when the picture was taken? Check this out. Isn't that amazing? The point is, though, somebody will get that later. The point is, the filter that we use determines what we see. Whether we are aware of it or not, this happens not just on social media, but this happens every day in our lives. There are filters that are influencing how we see our lives. And so the question is, what filter do we need in order to lead us toward joy? We're going to look at one perspective today from a guy named Paul. He was a key leader in the early Jesus movement. Paul was actually a guy who was majorly anti-Jesus until he had this experience that changed his filter and changed his life. We're not going to unpack that story today, but what I need you to know about Paul to understand this filter that he has is that Paul, after that life-changing experiences, he began to travel around the Mediterranean rim, starting churches in all of the cities where he went. And as he went, he experienced some things. He went through dangerous waters. He got beat up. He got stoned with rocks, not, he was bit by a snake. He was shipwrecked, not once, not twice, but 3 times. One of those times he spent a night out on the open sea, which is my nightmare. This is not to mention the unending criticism that Paul faced, the times that he spent in prison, plural, in the well-respected position that Paul had given up so that he could live this life and do this work. So if Paul, this guy who had walked through all of those things, can find joy, then any one of us can find joy in our lives by applying his filter. When we adopt his filter, we can find the kind of joy that makes people say, wow, I'll have what she's having.
Boom, there it is, the random phrase.
Yeah, she totally nailed that, which
Crushed it.
kind of spells victory to me.
100%.
So when we do this, when we apply Paul's filter, it's going to be like the one that I just showed you a moment ago. Some things are going to get better defined. Some things are going to come to life in even more color, and other things are going to wash out. See, the first thing that Paul's filter does is it fades some things into the background of his life. Paul's filter actually takes the focus off of Paul. When he looks through it, the highlights are not on him, and not in an insecure or self-loathing way, but because he saw himself as part of a bigger story. Paul understood that he was driven by a mission. His mission was to help other people experience the life and the joy that he had found and that he wanted them to come to know. Now remember, if there was ever a person who could question this negative and downward spiral of their life, at least by some standards, it was Paul. And yet, here is his filter. We see he writes this to the church in Philippi while he's in prison in Rome. He says, I want you to know, my dear brothers and sisters, that everything that has happened to me here has helped to spread the good news. For everyone here, including the whole palace guard, knows that I am in chains because of Christ. And because of my imprisonment, most of the people here have gained confidence and boldly speak God's message without fear. We see here that Paul has a mission to help others experience the good news of Jesus, and he can see that that mission is still going forward, even as he himself is restricted. Therefore, he still has joy. Now, Paul doesn't want to be in Rome. I can guarantee you he doesn't want to be in prison. But he has this ability, because of his filter, to see beyond himself, to recognize that all of these people, this whole new geography, are hearing about Jesus and finding life. Even the very people that he is chained to in prison as he is writing this, the Imperial Guard, they are hearing about Jesus, who came to rescue us, to give us real life, to invite us to follow him because of this situation that he's in. As he sits here longing, I'm sure, for the day when he can go to a new city and be free, he can be content, he can have joy because he can see that by being there, he is actually encouraging and equipping other people to go out and do the work, to share the good news, probably better than they would have been if he would have been out there with them. He's looking through a filter where he is not the star of his own life. He can see something bigger and better going on. So much so that when he finds out some of the people that he has sent out, that he has poured his life into, are actually going about sharing this news that he's told them about Jesus, just so that they might stir up more trouble for Paul, as if he needs that. Here's the strength of his filter. He says, what does it matter? What does it matter? The important thing is that in every way, whether from false motives or true, Christ is preached. And because of this, I rejoice. He's looking through this filter at the good happening outside of himself and says, I will have joy. You know, there's something about not taking center stage. And this might be the only place that you hear this. This might be the only place that you hear someone say, maybe the point of your life is not to be the star. Maybe the point of your life is not to maximize you. Maybe the point of your life is not to build your platform, to have all the experiences you want to have, to check all the boxes, to do all the things. But what if the point of your life is to connect yourself to a God whose mission is far bigger than you? What if maximizing yourself is actually minimizing your joy? And again, this might be the only place that you hear this question, because everything else in our culture is about growing your platform, meeting your goals, reaching your full potential, doing all the things. But Paul, he's planting this seed that if you look at your life as part of a bigger story, you might just discover that minimizing yourself actually leads to maximizing your joy.
Touchdown, Team Craig. She is awarded 7 points for a varsity level argument and an MVP delivery. She also receives 2 points for the use of a random phrase and an all-star use of the Apostle Paul. If she keeps this up, I'll also have what she's having. That's the end of the first half. The score is Team Walters 9, Team Craig 9.
All right, Crosspoint, we've got a tight one going into the second half. Vince, your reactions.
Yeah, this is a lot closer than I expected.
Same.
If you listen closely, I don't know if you can hear that. Can you hear that noise?
What's that?
That's the wheels coming off of Walter's train because it's inevitable. It's about to happen, right? We all kind of know what to expect.
It's happening. So, hey, that is, again, harsh, but totally on brand. And speaking of brands, we know why you're here. You're here for the commercials. We'll be right back after this one.
Ladies and gentlemen, break open those glow sticks, stand to your feet, and let's make some noise! It's time for the 2023 Crosspoint Game Day Halftime Show.
Give it up for this band, everybody. Doing the impossible, making Rihanna church friendly. I think we just had our first game day baptism in the middle of that song.
I think we did.
Oh my goodness. I don't even know what to do about all that. That was
I know, there's a
incredible.
lot there.
There was a lot there. That was so
Rick
good.
Springfield on one knee. You had a
I'm
kid
telling
running
you.
through the thing. It was fantastic.
Oh my gosh. If I would have tried that, I would have pulled a hammy so hard.
You pulled the hammy when we got up to use the restroom a few minutes
that's
ago.
Facts. Okay, we're moving on now. You ready?
We're off script.
All right,
Here we go.
We're
Let's
totally
go.
off script.
Totally off script. Let's
and
go.
probably over time at this point. So,
who cares?
Hey,
Last
there's
hour.
a lot of ways to connect here, Vince. Tell the good people what to do.
Awesome. So, there are plenty of ways to connect around here, but the most important way, or the most easiest way, is on your digital connection card. So if you can take that out, if you're in person, here in the venue, you can scan the QR code in front of you. Or if you're at home online, please scan the QR code on your screen. We'd love to hear from you. If you're a regular partner attender around here, you know what to do. And if you're a visitor, hey, you are in the right place this morning. Am I right? This is fantastic. A super great environment. A lot of fun. Hey, please feel free to share as much information as you're comfortable with. If you are a first-time guest with us and you put your mailing address down, we will send a gift to you this week in the mail. We're so happy that you're here. As you probably noticed, we're having a lot of fun today. And this is what church is about, right? God created us to have fun, right? That's the most important thing, to have joy. That's what we're talking about. That's what we're chasing after. So if you like what you've heard today and you like the message and you want a church that has this type of experience, we're not doing game day next week. We're back to our regular schedule next week. So continue to join us. Come join us on a quote-unquote normal weekend, which will be next weekend, both services on Thursday night and then 2 Sunday morning services here at Crosspoint as we continue the series Chasing Joy.
Yeah, so if you're wondering what's happening after Chasing Joy, we are running into a new series coming around the block here called the Renew Initiative. And it's going to be an extraordinary invitation for us to step into some adventure, step in what God is doing in and around us and within our community and here at Crosspoint. It's going to be an extraordinary series, and it kicks off February 23rd and 26th. And we look forward to having you with us for that. Vince?
Hey, any March Madness fans out there?
Yes.
Yeah, right?
Let's go.
Let's go, right? We get rid of it today. It's the Super Bowl. Tomorrow we'll all be depressed because there won't be any football. That's me. And we'll be looking forward to March Madness. So, just like in Crosspoint Fashion, we're going to do March Madness here. We're going to have a viewing party on Thursday, March 16th. Here in the venue, here in the Commons, and we'll probably use the venue. We're going to have free appetizers from Ale Emporium, hopefully some Hermanaki wings, and maybe a few other things. And we will have the games up on the big screen. We're going to have free Wi-Fi here for those of you who are working, which nobody works on those days. I haven't worked. Well, that's... Anyway, so hang out, come watch the games with us, have some free appetizers, and join in the fun as we kick that off at 11 a.m., March 16th.
Awesome, awesome. Hey, if you love what you're experiencing here and you want to continue to feel the life change that's happening here at Crosspoint, we invite you to hit the Joy Box on your way out. Thank you very much. You can find all 4 of them on either side of the doors as you leave the venue today. If you want to give online, you can do so via the Give button. Or if you're 90 or over, you can drop a check in the mail, and we would love that too. So if you are looking for ways to give of your time and your treasure, there are so many ways you can connect with the volunteer team here. So if you just go on to the app or on the site, you can find a menu of all the ways you can connect here with us. So there are really unlimited opportunities to fuel all the goodness that's happening here at Crosspoint and in our community, and we would love to have you on one of our volunteer teams here. Speaking of goodness, Vince, tell the good people about Grace Horizon's bourbon and wine tasting coming up.
First of all, that was really hard for you to say.
That was hard.
And very much, this is a great event, and there's really not a whole lot to share except for Crosspoint. Like usual, we killed it. The event is sold out, so great job by all of you.
Yes.
And for making that event so special. And, hey, raising some money for a great cause. So great job, Crosspoint.
That's awesome. That's amazing news. Well done, everybody. I'm not gonna lie. I'm a little bit bummed because I did not buy a ticket in time. So I will be having an offsite bourbon and wine tasting in my house on that same night. And if any of you guys would like to stop by, please do. And you can find my address on. I'm kidding. I'm not giving my address on this thing.
Oh, don't worry. I'm going to.
All right, hey, we've got a stellar game shaping up. We're tied 9-9, headed into the second half, headed back to the field shortly. But before we do, we got to pay the bills. We'll be right back.
All right, Team Craig, we got to get this show on the road. My flight leaves in just over 20 minutes, but... Oh, wait. Never mind. I'm on Southwest. It doesn't even matter anymore. All right, people upstairs, we need to get that random movie phrase. Let's go. Abby, you're killing me, Smalls. Your random phrase is, you bob for apples in the toilet and you like it. Take it away, Smalls.
All right, love me some Sandlot. Let's do this. So, last half we talked about how Paul had this filter that reframed the way that he saw himself. But there's more to the story too. See, this filter also reframed how he saw the people around him. Other people came to the forefront as he himself faded to the background. We see evidence of this in the way that he talks about the people in Philippi who he's writing this letter to. He begins saying, I thank my God every time I remember you. In all my prayers for you, I always pray with joy because your partnership in the gospel from the first day until now. He goes on to tell them how they have a special place in his heart, how he longs to be with them. Later, he even calls them his crown and his joy. And so as we look at this like real sugary way that he talks about these people, we may make some assumptions. Maybe you would assume that, okay, Paul clearly likes these people. They must be some of his closest friends. But actually, Paul only went to Philippi one time for a very short stint. These are not people that he has known forever. And so knowing that, maybe you would assume that Paul is just a Ted Lasso type, that he's the kind of guy that just never really has anything negative to say about anyone. But the truth is, if you read his other letters, you'll see that's not the case at all. They are filled with bold critiques and biting sarcasm. He tells the Galatians in 1 that he wishes some people would just castrate themselves.
Ooh, hard pass.
Oh, yeah. Big no.
I forgot to put this in my notes, but I'm pretty sure in his first letter to the Corinthians, he even says, you bob for apples in the toilet, and you like it.
Oh, Yahtzee, there's the random phrase.
Yeah, I'm still hung up on the whole castration thing.
100%.
See, Paul was not the easiest guy to get along with. We have all kinds of stories of his conflict with other people. So this positivity that we see here is not something that just comes naturally to him. It's not innate to his personality. There is a filter that is impacting, changing the way he sees these people. He's writing this letter later in life, and he's learned some things along the way. Now, one more assumption that you might make as you read these words is that it was easy for Paul to see these people positively because they were highly effective people. And it's true that of all the communities that Paul had launched, all the places where he had trained people up to embody this way of Jesus, this community in particular became the most successful one. They understood the mission, and they were carrying it forward. But when you look at their backstory, you see that they are not the kind of people that we would expect this kind of success from. See, the city of Philippi, it was a capital city of its region and a center for trade. There were definitely influential people that lived in that city. And Paul's the kind of guy that he had the status. He could hold his own among powerful people. But what we find is that when Paul goes to Philippi, he doesn't go to the city center. He doesn't go to any of the places where people who already had established influence would have been. Instead, he goes first to the outskirts, to a river outside the city, and he meets this small group of women that are the first people he connects with as his partners in this mission. Now, in the first century culture, if you are trying to establish a strong partnership and mission, you do not start with a group of women. This is not like today. In Paul's male-dominated world, they literally believed that something had gone wrong in the womb that caused women to not be born as men. Silly people. They devalued women in every way. They even didn't allow women to testify in court. This is the world that he lived in. However, these are the first people that Paul chooses to share the good news with, and they decide to follow. They are his partners in this mission. The next addition to the group, a person of even lower status, a slave girl. And then after her, the jailer who literally is holding Paul in prison in Philippi. There you go. That's his team, his partners in mission. And what's crazy is this is what Paul says about them. He starts his letter to them saying, to all God's holy people in Philippi. Those are the holy people that he's referring to, a group of very unlikely people. But see, Paul's filter had been defined by a God who habitually chooses unlikely people for extraordinary purpose. See, holy people are just unholy people who belong to a very good God. It doesn't matter where they came from. It doesn't matter what society says about them. Their value is defined by the reality that they are loved. And Paul understands this. We can see in verse 7, he says, all of you share in God's grace with me. As he looks at these people, as he looks at his team, he sees grace all over them. And it allows him to see them as partners. It enables him to look at them and see their potential, to realize that they have strengths and gifts and talents that have been given to them by the very same God who had given Paul his. And therefore, they could join together through this filter of grace. Now, I'm not sure what your experience with church or church people has been in the past, but here's what you need to know about Crosspoint. Crosspoint is a place that was created to be a place where it's okay for us to not have it all together, where we choose to focus on this thing that connects us, God's grace that we all equally share, not on how together we have it. Now, I got to tell you about my experience. This is actually my 1-year anniversary here at Crosspoint. My family, thanks. My family's first time here was Gameday last year. And I remember sitting in the seats and thinking, like, this is really fun, but this can't be for real, right? But my experience over this past year has been, it really is. This really is a community where it's safe to be a real person. In my past experiences in churches, I've often felt the pressure to put on different filters, to pretend to be the kind of person that I thought that people expected me to be. But here, over this year, I found some new freedom to realize that that energy that I used to use pretending can actually be spent instead toward real growth, toward deeper relationships, toward pursuing this kind of life that Jesus invites us to follow him and find joy. This is who we are. And this is our hope for you. Now, I'm not saying that we always get this right. I'm not saying that when we put on this filter of grace like Paul, that it's this one-time fix-all decision. This is a day-by-day, moment-by-moment choice that we get to make to see people around us the way that God sees us. And in some moments, for some people, this is easy. It comes naturally. But other times, we have to continue to adjust the filter. Sometimes this happens in daily small frustrations. In my house, one of the times that I often have to choose a filter of grace, maybe don't often do it, is when we're about 30 minutes out from people coming over to our house, and my husband pulls stunts like this.
This leaky shower head, and then I'll run to the store. Honey, I'm just gonna change all the air filters in the whole house. I'm just gonna get the attic cleaned up.
No one's going to be in the attic.
Right after I get these cords untangled, I'm right on. I'm just gonna organize the garage before everybody gets here. Yeah, I'm just gonna knock the cobwebs off of the overhangs.
No one is going to be looking at the overhang.
Honey, I'm just gonna clean the windows real quick. Okay, I'm just gonna paint the mailbox, then I'm all done.
Who isn't quite understanding the humor in this. When you are 30 minutes away from company, what your wife wants you to do is clean the toilet. What your wife wants you to do is do things that people will actually notice, not the air filter. But anyways, there you go. That's for you. So sometimes we have to make a choice to see people through this filter of grace and these small things. Other times, it's much larger, much more consequential decision. Times when it is so difficult for us to see the people in front of us through this filter of grace. But when we begin to grasp this, when we begin to understand that grace defines and unites us, this filter can lead us toward joy in any circumstance as we learn to see people in a new way. Now, if you've ever been on the receiving end of this, then you already know that it's a win-win. If you've ever had a coach, a boss, a parent, someone in your life who has seen potential in you that you couldn't yet see in yourself, who believed in you when you didn't yet believe in yourself, who affirmed your value when you were deep in self-doubt, who convinced you that your past mistakes don't define your future, then you know the power that this can have. Seeing people through this filter of joy not only brings us more joy, but it frees the people around us to experience that joy too. When we begin to see others through the lens of God's grace, it leads to more joy for them and for you.
Touchdown! 7 points for a top-notch delivery, and 10 points for use of the random phrase. So at the end of the third, it's Team Craig 18 and Team Walters 9. All right, people. We're at risk of missing the Simpsons here, so we're just going to keep this blowout rolling. Boss, you all have the ball for the start of the fourth quarter. People in the booth, cue up that random phrase. Let's go! All right, Kurt. Our excessively random movie phrase is, when you give up your dream, you die. From the movie Flashdance.
Seriously, Flashdance.
I thought that was Walt Disney, but anyway, take it away.
All right. Well, hey, so we've talked about Jesus as the happiest person that ever lived. We've talked about this filter the Apostle Paul gives us where not only do we see ourselves different, but we also begin to see others through this lens of grace. And this last filter I want us to look at is that lens of grace for us. And this has to do with the filter of release. And how when we actually use this filter to see that we can actually release our past, it allows us to run into our future. Now, I want to kind of show you a vision of what this looks like as we're on this pursuit of joy. And this is outside the realm of football. This actually comes from another realm of sports, which is track and field. And you may have never heard of this young lady, Heather Dorniden. This young lady who grew up in Minnesota, broke all kinds of state records, ran for the University of Minnesota. Just one of the most fantastic runners that has ever been in the Big Ten. And I want to show you a race of hers, and just before you see this, like she's the hands down favorite to win this race. So take a look at how this played out.
The 600-meter underway. Heather Dorniden in Minnesota finished second in this event a year ago. She is in lane 4.
And Dorniden is probably going to be your favorite. She actually won the NCAA championships in 2006 in the 800, but she only won one Big Ten championship in the 2 years.
3 laps in this event, 600 meters, 3 times around the 200-meter track here at the field house.
What a bold move by Fawn. She's looking very confident, and the Penn State runner is just running amazing today. She did win her heat in the 400, but ended up taking 4th overall.
That's Fawn Dorr moving into the lead, a sophomore from Penn State. Dorniden running second.
Dorniden last year scored 23 points for the Golden Gophers in their Big Ten championship. So they're really relying on getting a lot of points from her this weekend. And she's just coming by Fawn Dorr now in the home stretch, heading into the bell lap. Dorniden went down.
Dorniden falling down, gets up quickly, but that's going to cost her. Lucky she wasn't injured.
Her teammate just went to the front, though, so they may be able to recover from that. And Dorniden is flying down the backstretch.
She is catching up.
She is going to catch Fawn Dorr, and she may catch the leaders.
Wow.
Wow. She's got Fawn.
This is a gutsy effort by Dorniden. Can she pull it off? She's moved into third. Dorniden coming down the stretch from the outside. Dorniden coming on strong. Dorniden all the way. Dorniden. Yes, she did it.
Oh my gosh, is that not amazing? Holy cow. I mean, you're like feeling it with her. And I think this is how we oftentimes find ourselves in this race for joy. I mean, I think so many times we, at some point, like Heather Dorniden, we find ourselves face down. I mean, not what we expected. We're running, and all of a sudden, we're smacked down on the ground, and we don't know if we're going to be able to get up. We don't know if we're going to be able to put that behind us. But just like any great athlete, we've got to decide, are we going to move past that moment and run into our future? And to do that, there's a couple things we have to release. And so this filter helps us see we have to release this idea of self-reliance, where we believe that I have everything I need. We actually need help from something outside of ourselves if we want to have that kind of joy in our lives. Another thing that we have to release is the hurt that we've done to others. I don't know how this plays out in your life, but I mean, we all have places where, man, we have not been the best version of ourselves, where we have done things that hurt people. And if we're honest, I mean, that we hang on to that emotionally, we hang on to that spiritually. Sometimes it keeps us from being able to get past those moments so we can look into the future. I don't know what that looks like for you, but you have a Heavenly Father who brings grace so you can actually move past your past. And that same kind of grace allows you to run your past through the filter so you can run into the future. And then the last thing that perhaps we have to release is the hurts that have been done to us. In fact, there's probably things that you've experienced that people have hurt you, and you're like, how do you get past those? I'm going to tell you, it's not easy. But, Jesus gives us this little insight. He talks about it over and over. It's this amazing thing called forgiveness. And here's what forgiveness is. Here's the best way to think about forgiveness. Forgiveness really is giving up my right to revenge. That's what forgiveness is. It's forfeiting my right to get revenge on somebody who's hurt me. It's not saying that what they did was right. It's not saying that what they did isn't going to have some consequences. It's just saying I'm going to give up my right. I'm going to forfeit my right to revenge. In fact, you perhaps have heard this phrase before, that to not forgive is like choosing to eat rat poison and hoping the other person dies. I mean, we're actually the one, when we don't forgive, being poisoned, and it just steals all our joy. But see, when we follow Jesus in this act of forgiveness and we forfeit that, the very same thing he does for us, we begin to realize this allows us to run into a joy-filled future. It allows us to reframe not only our past, but in our present, and to focus on what's ahead of us. The Apostle Paul, he actually talks about this. Abby's been breaking down some of these things the Apostle Paul gives us. Here's one of the things he said about how that takes place. He says, he who began a good work in you. Now, perhaps you've taken a step to follow Jesus, to receive his grace, to step into that purpose-filled life that he has. Or perhaps you're considering, okay, what does that look like for me? Would I even be able to do it? How can I achieve that? Well, notice who does the work right here. He says, he who began the good work in you. He is going to be faithful to take it to the end, to complete it, to lead you into that future. And see, this is what Jesus can bring to us. It brings that kind of hope, that kind of joy. It's one of the reasons I love that race with Heather Dorniden. I mean, I'm sure she's rounding that corner on that last lap wondering, I just blew it. I just fell flat on my face. I'm the hands down favorite. There's no way I'm going to be able to get past that. And then she catches the third place runner. And then she probably wonders, am I going to have enough energy? Am I going to have enough distance to actually catch the top two runners? And then around that last corner, man, she clips those last two runners off and she runs into her future. And she didn't allow that fall to define her future. You know who else didn't know if they were going to be able to make it past that fall? Can I tell you a little story? There was once a little Steel Town girl named Alex. And Alex, she got in front of all those big shirts, and she took a tumble and fell. And I mean, nobody believed in her. She's flat on her face, but guess what? She believed in herself.
Is he talking about Flashdance?
Oh, hell yeah.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. So, you know, that little Steel Town girl, you know what she did? She picked herself up, she shook off that fall, she stiffened her legs up, and she danced herself right back into the hearts of those judges and right into that dance school. And she released her past. What do you need to release today? What is it in your life that you need to let go of so you can go into your future? Because God specializes, think about this, he specializes in comebacks that lead into new joys and a new future.
Touchdown to the Boss. Yeah. 7 points for me. I hated the message, but oh my stars! Wait, you played the music from Flashdance.
Yes,
you told us the story of Flashdance. You even inspired us to get up, run into the future like that little Steel Town girl named Alex. But you forgot to use the random phrase, making your 2023 Game Day champion Abby Craig. Congrats, champ.
We are the champions, my friend, and we'll keep on fighting to the end. We are the champions. We are the champions. No time for losers, and we are the champions of the world.
Game Day champion 2023. Hey, man, did you guys enjoy yourself today? Yeah, all right. Hey, go ahead and stand to your feet with us. Go ahead and stand to our feet. So good to have you with us. Those of you join online, let's give it up for our whole teaching communication team: Scott Vassell, Vince Constantine, Abby Craig. How about this band up here this weekend? Man, bringing some fantastic music. And a big shout out to our techs in the back, making all the live stream happening for the 10:30 service. Man, so excited. Thank you guys. How about our kids volunteers, hospitality, coffee greeters, tailgate team out front end? Let's thank them all. We are so glad that you joined us today. Hey, next weekend we're going to continue talking about how we pursue and chase joy. We hope we'll see you next weekend. Have a fantastic game day. See you next week.
We are the champions, my friend.